move this a little bit over here. And I think we might be all ready to go in about 43 seconds. Hi, everybody. It is time to start this lesson. Yes, there we go. It sounds like everything's working properly. I see a lot of people in the chat waiting for this lesson to start. Good to see all of you. Starting in 22 seconds. Hi to Kaka-Chen, Freddie Wolf, Amina, Lolly Lolly, Key Park, Haki. Lots of familiar faces. Good to see you. Vitor is here as well. We will be starting in 10 seconds, I promise. Or in 8 seconds. Or maybe it will be 5 seconds. We'll see. 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson about types of people, or describing people with nouns. Now, we often will describe people using adjectives. We will say someone is a certain way using an adjective. A big person, a tall person, a little person. That's actually not very nice. You shouldn't describe the size of people like that. But sometimes we simply use a noun to describe a person. A simple thing would be this: I am an optimistic person. But you could also say that I'm an optimist. So I can describe it in two different ways. So this lesson will be spent talking about how to describe people using nouns, the actual names we give people based on how they look or their behavior or the things that they do. So once again, welcome to this English lesson about types of people, how to describe people using the appropriate nouns. Hey, before we get started, just a few things. One, if you want to have fun English conversations in the chat, please do so. 2, this little red spot on my head. I don't know what this is. I'm not a teenager anymore, but apparently I still get zits. There we go. Anyways, hi to Key Park, Ralph, Freddie Wolf, Desh, Antur, Ulia, Desing, Leila, Ulia, Mahmood, Nona. Scrolling back, I see Unsel, Axmed, Blue, the Sweet Cat, Marcos, and then, of course, Vitor, Wanda Prado, Lolly Lolly, Freddie Wolf, Key Park, Haki. All of the regulars are here as well. Welcome to this English lesson. As I said, sometimes we describe people by actually just giving them a name. And when we start the lesson, I think you'll have a better understanding as to what I mean. Let me get a good check here. Excellent. Good sound, good audio. Good morning to Zeev and Etienne, Kamal, Adriana. Welcome to this live English lesson. Do have fun English conversations in the chat as I'm talking about types of people. Do ask a question using the link in the description below or the link that Nightbot will share in the chat. So if we do a exclamation mark link as a member, it will pull up the link for all other people. Hopefully Nightbot is here. I'm pretty sure Nightbot is here and ready to go. Are you ready to learn some English? Should we get started? Let's do that. A jerk. So I picked this as my first one, and I need to explain this one. First of all, a jerk is a person who is very mean, not very nice, doesn't treat you very well, and you don't enjoy being around them. But you should know that the word jerk is very informal. You wouldn't say to your boss, hey, you're being a jerk, or you're a jerk. That would be an insult. But you might say to a coworker, the boss is being a jerk today, or the boss is a jerk today. When you're having a private conversation, you might use the word jerk. But when you say this to someone's face, it is an insult. Like if you said, Bob, you're a jerk, I'd be like, whoa, what do you mean? Don't say that. That's mean. I'm not sure exactly how I would respond. But a jerk is a person who is not very nice, not very kind. Maybe they say mean things. Maybe they do mean things. Very informal and not used directly when talking to a person, or they will be insulted. An introvert and an extrovert, there's 2 spellings. So an introvert is someone who likes to spend time alone. Someone who prefers reading books or going for walks by themselves. And when they do spend time with people, they like spending time with maybe 1 or 2 other people. They don't necessarily like going to a party where there's 50 people. That might be a little overwhelming if you're an introvert. Introverts like hiking. They like talking with one friend for an hour instead of 10 different people every 5 minutes for half an hour. They're very calm in their own thoughts. They like to just sit and think sometimes. I, surprisingly, am an introvert. Even though I'm on the internet and I talk all the time, I actually prefer being by myself or just with Jen or with one or two other people. So an introvert, a very quiet person. An extrovert is the opposite. So again, there are two spellings. One has an O in the middle, one has an A in the middle, and they seem to just be used interchangeably. If you search the internet for extrovert with either spelling, you will see both spellings come up. An extrovert loves being around people. When an introvert is around people, they lose energy. When an extrovert is around people, they gain energy. It makes them happy and excited, and they love talking to people. So an extrovert loves being around people and loves just hanging out with people and doing things with them. An asset. So you can see this person here is helping move boxes. You would say this person is an asset. An asset is a person who is very helpful, usually at work. So I might say, oh, the new person we hired is a real asset to our company. She works really hard. She's awesome. She's really good at her job. She is an asset. So when a person is an asset, it means they are beneficial. It means they are helpful. It means that everything they do makes the company better. And again, we often use this when we're talking about work, okay? When we're talking about people at work. You wouldn't say, oh, my brother is a real asset to our family, but you might say, Joe, the person who works on the first floor, is a real asset to our company. He's very helpful, very hardworking, etc. So there are two versions of this phrase, and you can just use the word pain. Oh, the new guy we hired is a pain. Oh, it's such a pain working with him. He is a pain. Or you could say pain in the butt. Remember, the butt is your back end down here, the bottom part of the top of your legs, the bottom of your back, in between there. And then the very informal version is to say pain in the ass. I don't recommend that you say that. ASS is not considered a very nice word. So again, similar to jerk, you wouldn't say to someone, you're a pain, or you're a pain in the butt. That would be rude and offensive. They would be insulted. But you definitely might say to a colleague, oh, I have to work with Frank today, and he is a pain in the butt. Every time I try to work faster, he gets in the way. I don't enjoy working with him. He is a pain. He is a pain in the butt. A mystery. So a person can be a mystery. It means that you don't know a lot about them. They don't talk about themselves very much. You might have someone you've worked with for 5 or 10 years, and you don't know very much about them. They are a mystery. So similar to, you can read a book that's a mystery, where you're not sure what's happening and why it's happening. A person can also be a mystery, where you don't know a lot about them, and you don't know what they do on the weekends, and you don't know why when they come to work Monday morning, they look really tired all the time. They're a mystery. This is very similar to an asset. You could say someone is a great addition. We usually say this about a new employee. So you might say, Joe is a great addition to our team, or Joe has been a great addition. It means that the person is hardworking. They just do a lot. They're fun to work with. They make the company or business better. So I would hope that if I was ever hired somewhere, they would say, oh, Bob has been a great addition to our company. We really, really enjoy having him on the team. Let's see here, a worrier or a worrywart. So this is someone who worries all the time. This is someone who isn't relaxed. They are always thinking something will go wrong, or they're always worried that something bad will happen. This can happen when you're a parent. Sometimes parents can worry when their children are out at night. Like if one of our kids goes out at night, Jen and I worry a bit, but we're not worrywarts. We worry a little bit. We hope that they're safe while they're on the road, etc., etc. But a worrywart might worry 24 hours a day. They might toss and turn in their sleep because they're so stressed about something and so worried. So we would call that person a worrier, or we would call them a worrywart, someone who worries a lot, someone who is always stressed about what could happen. A procrastinator. This is me sometimes, not all the time. A procrastinator is someone who, if they have 5 days to do something, they do it all on the 5th day at the end of the day. A procrastinator is someone who, when the teacher asks them to do an assignment and gives them 3 days, they don't start right away. They do other things for a few days. And then eventually, when there's only when it's the night before, they suddenly get a lot of energy and get something done. So in English, we say a procrastinator leaves things to the last minute. That's the other phrase we use to describe someone who is a procrastinator. They don't get work done right away. They leave work till the last minute. They don't start on day one. They start on the day before, or even the morning of when something is due. Team player. This is another one similar to asset or great addition. You could say someone is a real team player. I have a few colleagues where if I am put on a team with them, I am happy because they are team players. So if 3 of us have to work on a project, I love it when I'm with other people who are real team players. I do my work, they do their work. Have you ever worked with a group of people where one person doesn't do anything? That person is not a team player. When you work with a group of people and everyone does their job, they're all team players, and it makes the job more enjoyable for sure. I love working with people who are team players. Hey, let's look at some questions, and let me get a sip of water here. And let me make sure. Yes, excellent. Everything's working good. Questions flowing in. Let's answer a few of them. So Renata, good morning, Bob. I hope you, Jen, and your kids are very happy. I'm going to be really happy at the end of the day today. It's been a busy week. My question is calling someone a dud extremely offensive? Thank you again, sir. Have a great day. Yes, it is offensive. It's usually used when talking about someone's adult child who isn't successful. So you might say, oh, Jim's kid, Frank, he's a real dud. Like, he can't get a job. He doesn't have a girlfriend. He just sits at home and plays video games all day. He's a real dud. A dud refers to someone who isn't contributing to society, someone who doesn't make the country they live in a better place and doesn't help their family out. So yes, it would be offensive, but people do say that sometimes. They do say that someone is a dud. Ruslan says, Teacher Bob, you're wise and kind. With every lesson, we expand our mind. You guide us well and help us grow. A brighter path you always show. Well, thank you. That is a nice poem. Did you guys hear the rhyme? You're wise and kind, and then rhymes with mind. You guide us well and help us grow. Rhymes with show. Very nice, Ruslan. Thank you. I will keep that one. Let me make sure that I copy and paste that. Let's see. Young from Korea. Hi, Bob. How are you? Canada has a large territory, and each state has different characteristics of people, like height and face shape depending on distance. Not necessarily. If you go to any major city in Canada, you will see people of all shapes and sizes is how we would describe it. You will see all different skin tones. You will see all different heights. You will see all different people from all different countries originally. Canada is definitely a country where a lot of people have moved here from other parts of the world. So we don't have like a distinct look for people in different areas. From Kurdish, hi uncle, how do you tend to deal with kind people, especially when they frustrate you? Do you handle it differently compared to other situations? Yes, there are people I know who are very kind. They are very gentle, we would say. And it doesn't work to get really frustrated with them or to be really short with them. That means to like speak, like, sit down, do this. Why didn't you do it this way? When you start to use strong language, it can actually cause them to shut down a bit and not do their work well. So I'm usually kind to kind people, even if they frustrate me, because I know if I get annoyed, it doesn't necessarily help. From Denis. Hello, Bob. When you were a kid, were you a chatterbox? And happy Friday the 13th. Hope you have a lucky day. So first of all, a chatterbox is a kid who talks a lot. I have a few relatives, little kids, nephews and nieces who are chatterboxes, and we'll talk about chatterbox in a bit. I was not a chatterbox. I was very quiet. And then Friday the 13th. So today, a lot of motorcycles will go by my house because there's a tradition in my part of Ontario, Canada, that on Friday the 13th, everyone drives to a certain town called Port Dover on their motorcycle. So there will be a lot of motorcycles going by my house today. It's probably already started. Pavel. Hello, Teacher Bob. The question is, what kind of people are these old men who want constantly to have power and be presidents? I don't know. I would just say they need to move on. Is that too strong? And when you say someone needs to move on, like if you work with someone who's 70 years old and they could have retired at 70 or at 65 and their age is affecting their work, we would say, oh, I think it's time for them to move on. It's time for them to retire. I won't comment any more on that. It's an American problem. Our prime minister is much younger. Nadeem, my boss sometimes says the word schmuck to describe some customers. What does it mean? Yeah, schmuck is like someone who makes mistakes and someone who is unpleasant. Let me get the actual definition, meaning of schmuck. It's a word older people use. Foolish or annoying person. Yeah, schmuck. So I don't hear it a lot. My mom says it. My kids don't use that word at all. So I think it's becoming less common. So Ibtihal says, could you please make an English club? I want to improve my English communication skills and I like your accent. So I have no plan to do this because I feel like anything I create, I need to manage to make sure it's going well. And I don't have time to manage an English club. My viewers are free to make an English club on their own. If they really want, that would be really, really cool. Okay. From Haki, how can we describe the people who are energy suckers? You would say they're a drain. You know, that person's a real drain on my energy. I'm trying to think if there's an exact noun to describe them. I'm looking at my list here. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but definitely saying to someone, oh, you would probably say this, it's exhausting to spend time with them. Okay. So there's no specific noun or adjective I can think of, but you would say, oh, it's just exhausting to spend time with my mom. It's not true, Mom, if you're watching, but it means that when you're done talking to them, you are tired. So Mahmoud says, hi, Bob, I have a question. Is saying dog to someone, like if I say, hi, dog, is it okay or does it have a bad meaning? It depends on how well you know the person and how you talk to each other. So I could maybe say to a good friend of mine, sup, dog, or what's up, dog? And he might be okay with it because that's how we talk to each other. And you might hear that phrase in a movie. But if I walked into work and said to someone, what's up, dog? They might be offended because calling someone a dog isn't a nice thing to do. From Ahmed, hello, Teacher Bob. I am watching you from Somalia. I love your lessons and I have learned a lot from you. God bless you. Well, you are welcome. And thank you for that kind words. I'm glad you're watching, and I'm glad that I can help you learn. Very cool. From Peter, hi, Mr. Wise Bob. How are you today? Good. Your live stream is wonderful. My question, could you explain more about a mystery? Thanks. You have a good day and weekend. So there's people that you might see at the gym or at work or when you go out who you know really well. And there's people who they don't talk about their own lives very much. You don't know if they're married or not. You don't know if they have kids. Like imagine a coworker who doesn't eat lunch with everyone else. And you're like, what does he do on the weekends? You would describe that person as a mystery. Oh, that person is a mystery. I don't know anything about them. Last question, and then we'll get back to the lesson. Safin, hello, I have no questions today. I just haven't been able to watch it live for a long time. Well, good to have you back. That's awesome. Let me get a sip of water. And we will talk a little bit more about describing people. How do I do that? Click there. A hot dog. So a hot dog is something you eat on a bun. It's like a sausage. But you could also call a person a hot dog. And we usually do this when we're referring to how they drive a snowmobile or how they surf or how they go, what they do with their skateboard. If they do a lot of tricks, you might say they're a hot dog. If I see a student doing donuts with a car in the parking lot, I could call that person a hot dog. A hot dog likes to show off their ability to surf, to rollerblade, to skateboard, to drive a dirt bike in a way that makes people like to watch them. If they drive a dirt bike, they might do a lot of wheelies or catwalks. You'll have to look up those two words to see what they mean. A critic. Critics are good sometimes, but it can be annoying. If you know someone who's a critic, they are often very negative. They might say your shoes don't match your pants. Your haircut doesn't look good. They say negative things. The reason I say critics can be good is sometimes in the comments, I will hear from a critic, someone who tells me something about my lesson that they don't like, but that can also help me make a good lesson. So even hearing someone who's a critic say something, even though hearing it can be a little bit annoying, it can also be helpful. In my first year of teaching, it was nice that a couple people were critics of my teaching. They kind of told me what I could do better and what I wasn't doing well. So a critic. Sometimes one of your parents might be a critic. As parents get older, they can become more critical. And so you might have a mom or dad who's 60 or 65 or 70, and they're a critic. You don't drive the right car. You don't have the right job. Your kids aren't successful enough. They are a critic. I don't have that, thankfully. My mom is not a critic. She's a very kind and gentle person. A hard worker. This is something I think everyone should be. I saw this picture of this man. He's a little bit older. He's making jewelry. My guess is that he is a hard worker. So like things are hard, like this table is hard, but when you use hard to describe a worker, you mean that that person is very efficient. They do good work. The work they do is high quality. They work long hours. They don't sit around and talk when they're supposed to be working. They are a hard worker. I like to think I'm a hard worker. But you can only be described as a hard worker by other people. You can't say you're a hard worker. Other people have to see you doing a lot of work and doing it well, and then they will describe you as a hard worker. Let me just check something for a sec here. Yeah, excellent. Problem solver. This is a fun one. I work with a few people who are great problem solvers. We might be planning to do something, and there's a few problems, like we need a speaker and a microphone. We need to find lots of chairs to set up. And there are people who are problem solvers. You give them a problem, and very quickly they think of a way to solve the problem. So if I, for instance, if the live stream stopped working, I try to use my problem solving skills to figure out why. Jen is a great problem solver. Often when something goes wrong on the farm, she has a good idea. She's a good problem solver. She has a good idea to help fix the problem. Brainiac, this is kind of an informal term for someone who is really, really smart. Maybe you have a nephew or niece or a relative who just does really well in school. They went to school and they got like 100% in every class. And now they're in university studying biochemistry, some very advanced topic. They are doing well. You would say they are a brainiac. Again, a very informal term. Even the dictionary didn't like this term when I typed it in. But a brainiac is someone who is very smart. I have some cousins who are real brainiacs. They are super, super smart. Fangirl, fanboy. This is a relatively new term. This refers to a boy or girl or man or woman who really, really likes a certain series of books or movies or a TV show. So for instance, Star Wars has a lot of fangirls and fanboys. These are people that love Star Wars. It is their favorite thing in the world. If a new Star Wars book comes out, they buy it. If a new Star Wars show is on TV, they watch it. Sometimes they can also be critics. When they take a book and turn it into a TV show or movie, sometimes the fangirls and fanboys become critics because they don't like how it was done. But yes, a fangirl or fanboy is someone who really likes a certain, it's usually a series of movies like Star Wars, Star Trek, Harry Potter. I'm trying to think of more. You can also be a fanboy of like a singer or a band. That works as well. But it simply means you really, really like something. Sucker. Yeah. So again, this is an informal term. This is not a polite term. When you call someone a sucker, it means that they easily believe things. So if I told you these were both Rolexes and I sold you the fake one for $1,000, someone might call you a sucker because you were tricked. Okay, so again, a very formal term, or sorry, very informal, not formal, a very informal term. You wouldn't call someone a sucker, but you might describe someone in conversation. So let's say this. Let's say my friend buys a fake Rolex and thinks it's real. Someone might say, oh, you're a sucker. And he would be offended if they said that. But when two people are talking about him when he's not there, they might say, he's such a sucker. He paid like $500 and it's fake. It's not real. Can you tell which one is fake? I don't know which one is fake. I would, first of all, I wouldn't buy one, and I would probably buy the fake because I don't know what a real Rolex looks like. A loser, again, this is an informal term and this is derogatory. This is an insult. That's what derogatory means. So a loser is someone, we use this in a lot of ways. When someone does something that we don't like, you might say, oh, that person's a loser. It's very insulting, by the way, to call someone a loser. If I said, oh, that other person on YouTube, they're such a loser. They're trying to make videos about knitting. I don't know. That is an insult to say someone is a loser. And it's not an insult when you're talking about winners and losers. You know, like the Toronto Blue Jays, they were the losers last night. They didn't win the game. That's just a description. But if you say, oh, that guy on the team is such a loser, like we often emphasize it with or he's a real loser. It's just really insulting and really negative. It means you don't like the person. It means you don't think the things they do are cool. It's quite judgmental would be the word for it. So, by the way, that's the L. You might know the song from the movie Shrek. If you put it, it's the L that's the hand signal for loser. You put an L on your forehead. Hypocrite. So I had to make a slide for this one. A hypocrite is someone who says one thing, but then doesn't actually do it themselves. So you have two people sitting in a car here saying, hey, you shouldn't litter. You shouldn't throw garbage out your window. And then 2 seconds later, he's throwing garbage out the window. So they're saying one thing, but then they're not doing what they say. Some people do this where they're like, everyone should recycle. Everyone, when they buy things, they should sort things into plastics and paper, and then they themselves just throw everything into the garbage can instead of recycling. So a hypocrite says one thing, and then they kind of do the opposite thing themselves. Prodigy. A prodigy is usually a child who is exceptionally good at something at a young age. So this girl is playing piano. If she was playing something from Beethoven, we would say she is a prodigy. Normally, a little 5-6-year-old child isn't able to play advanced pieces of music. But every once in a while, there will be a music prodigy. There will be sometimes acting prodigies, but usually it's in the world of music or art and those kinds of things. So a prodigy is someone who is really good at something at a really young age. An opportunist. So I had to make a slide for this one too to explain it. An opportunist is someone who tries to use every situation to help themselves to their advantage. So you see here, we have this guy saying, hi, I'm a lawyer, right after a car accident happened. So instead of asking if everybody's okay, instead of calling the police, an opportunist who is a lawyer would say, here's my card if you want to sue the other guy or if you want to take the other guy to court. So that person would be an opportunist, someone who likes to use every situation so they benefit from it and other people maybe don't. An optimist and a pessimist. So an optimist is usually quite positive. A pessimist is usually quite negative. An optimist is optimistic. A pessimist is pessimistic. But an optimist would say, hey, that glass is half full. It's a very positive thing to say. An optimist would probably say, they're calling for rain today, but it probably won't happen until after the market. So an optimist is usually thinking positive thoughts. A pessimist would say, it's supposed to rain all day. We shouldn't even go out. We should just stay home. And a pessimist would think that this glass is half empty. Hey, let's do members only chat for a bit. This is one of my favorite parts of the live stream. Let me turn that on so members can now ask questions directly in the chat. And I will keep looking at questions from the forum while we're doing it. Let me see if there is another question ready to go. I'm sure there is. Let me get a sip of water as well. I have about 9 slides left, so stick around. We will be finishing this lesson soon. Let me see here. Question. Mode, have a sip. It's like I knew that's what I needed to do. If I use the word hoot, would that make me sound like an old person? And I know Worrier and Worrier are pronounced differently, but could you please say them so we get to hear it? So first of all, if you say, that was a hoot, or he's a real hoot, like if you hang out with someone and they are a lot of fun, you could say the person is a hoot. Oh, it was a hoot to hang out with Bob. He's a real hoot. And yes, I think so. I think I'm going to say people over the age of 35 or 40 would use the word hoot to describe something that was fun or someone that is fun. And then a worrier, someone who worries a lot. It's like, oh, I'm so worried. And then a warrior is someone who fights. Worrier and warrior. Dear Bob, what is the difference between dictator and autocrat? Oh, and autocrat. I'm going to take the IC off. Thank you. I think they're pretty much the same. A dictator is someone who runs a country and isn't elected. And an autocrat is basically the same thing. Yeah, you think autocrat and dictator are the same? Let's check. And dictator. Difference. Oh, maybe there is a difference. Yeah, it's weird. It's like it says they're different, but then it describes them the same. So yeah, so there you go. An autocrat or dictator is someone who rules a country and has lots of power, but wasn't necessarily elected. Abdullah, what is the difference between award and reward? Yeah, there are slight differences, but they can be the same. Like if I'm going to put it this way. I use reward a lot as a noun. Like there's a reward if you give the police information, there's a reward. And then when you get an award, it's usually like at school. Like, oh, he got an award for having the highest math grade. Okay, from the chat, Safia says, just drink that glass of water, LOL. I already had 2 before I started Safia's. Lolly Lolly says, I saw you and Jen on her channel. Oscar and Walter are so cute and well behaved. Yes. So I mentioned in the live stream last week that, first of all, Jen does have a YouTube channel. It's called My Flower Farm. But people were asking where Oscar and Walter were, the 2 dogs. And I said, if you really want to see them, go watch videos on Jen's channel. They are always with Jen. They follow her around. It's actually kind of funny. They like me a lot when Jen's gone. I'm like the secondary person. So, Wanda, hi, Teacher Bob. Is it common to say constructive critic? Thanks a lot. Have a great weekend. We use the term constructive criticism to describe what a critic might say to you. So you might say to people, we're all going to be critics now. Let's give Bob some constructive criticism on his last video. So you would say what you liked and didn't like about it. John Wedge, hey Bob, no question today. Just a bit of a fashionably late entrance. I was busy saving the world, or at least my homework, right before class. Better late than never, right? Yes. Always get it done. Shouldn't procrastinate. Ralph, hi Bob, hope you're well. I am. Fanboy is a positive word only. Our kids often call other kids a fanboy, for instance, when somebody adores their own phone too much and accepts no critics about it. So it can be negative. Many things, though, can be negative in the way you use them. I could say, oh, I'm a real fanboy of the Star Wars series. Positive. But I could say, oh, that kid is such a fanboy. It's annoying. All he talks about is Star Wars. So you can definitely use it in a negative way. Freddie Wolf, il a dit, movie critics in a positive way can sometimes make you save your money because they prevent you from seeing some boring movies. Yes. Sometimes I'm not sure though. I always look at the audience score and the critic score to see, like, if the audience loves it, but the critics don't, I still might see it. But if the audience, if you go to Rotten Tomatoes, if the audience and critics both give low scores, I'm less likely to see it. Safia's coworkers and I were deciding to get lunch. One said, you're a fickle friend every time we get lunch. What does that mean? I know they didn't mean fecal. No, they didn't mean that. When someone's fickle, like a fickle person isn't reliable. Like I don't know why they would say you're a fickle person about lunch. Like, meaning of fickle. Here we go. Let's get the real meaning. Changing their mind frequently, especially in regards to one's loyalty. See, if you really liked going to one restaurant and someone was just always going to you might say they're fickle, but it has to do more with not being trustworthy and reliable. Like, it doesn't really work in the lunch situation. So Safia's, the just drink that glass of water comment was for the glass half empty slide. Oh, gotcha. I thought you were talking to about the sip. Mode. Hi, Mode. Thanks for your answer, Mr. Bob. Now, you explain one meaning of sucker, but if you say he's a sucker for the Blue Jays, for example, this means something else, right? Like he's obsessed. Yes. Like if you said, oh, that guy is a sucker for anything that says Star Wars on it, it means even if he doesn't have enough money, he'll buy something if it says Star Wars on it. So good definition. Freddie Wolf says, if you drink a half empty glass of water, it couldn't be enough. If you drink a half full glass of water, it couldn't be enough either. Yes, that's true. Good thing I still have this glass half full. John Wedge, by the way, my wife and baby are doing great. According to Baby Center, he's about the size of a pear and weighs just over 100 grams. I guess we're officially in the fruit salad stage of parenting. Very cool. 100 grams, that's so tiny. Very cool. I hope everything is still going well. Good to hear that. Let me get a question from the forum. This comes up every once in a while from Abdullahi. Hi, Bob the Canadian. I have a question for you, Bob. Learning an IPA International Phonetic Alphabet. Can you help me with the language? Thank you. Or can it help me with the language? It can. I don't know enough about it, and I don't use it. I rely more on seeing the word as it's spelt normally and hearing a person say it, and then trying to connect the two. And I'm talking about when I'm learning French. So I don't look for a pronunciation guide. I look for a person saying the word. And there is a website that will do that for you. It will try and find a little video clip of someone saying that word. From Shota, hi Bob, could you please tell the difference between people who are devoted and dedicated to something, somebody? It is the same. Devoted might be a little stronger. Like he is a devoted Taylor Swift fan, or he is a dedicated Taylor Swift fan. Devoted to me means more like just loves Taylor Swift, and dedicated would mean they go to every concert and buy every song. So one is a little more like devoted means more like love, and dedicated more like a good, reliable person. Let's see, from Mode, I tend to have a harsh inner critic when it comes to my pronunciation. I have the same when it comes to making videos. The other day I did almost 30 takes, like one little clip I recorded 30 times because I couldn't get it right. John Wedge, hey, don't forget to give a thumbs up, folks. Thanks, John. And Bob, after members only chat, don't forget to turn it off. I am actually going to turn it off now because I need to finish this lesson and go to work. So let me do that. Let's go back to subscriber mode. Let me say thank you to everyone who is a member. You guys are awesome. Vitor's here saying to John Wedge, true. And Freddie Wolf says, Bob, do you believe in Friday the 13th? I don't believe in superstition. It could bring bad luck. I don't think it's a day of bad luck, but we'll see. Hopefully the live stream is still working. Hopefully the audio is still working. Yeah, I don't believe in superstition. It could bring bad luck. I don't think it's a day of bad luck, but certainly is a day of motorcycles for me. Okay, let's finish this off. A pushover. I couldn't find a really good picture for this, but a pushover is someone who agrees very easily to do things. So if I said to someone, let's say at market, someone came up and wanted to buy one bouquet of flowers. And I said, oh, you should buy two. And they say, okay. And they don't say, like, I don't have enough money or I don't want to. Or if you're at a party and you're bringing food around and you say to someone, oh, try this one. And they say, okay. It means that they're very easily convinced of something. It could also mean like, so when you have two parents, one parent might say yes all the time. So you might say that parent's a real pushover. Are you noticing I use the word real in front of a lot of these words? That's how we emphasize them. So you could say, oh, that guy's a real jerk. That's a real team player. He's a real critic. Oh, he's a real prodigy. He's a real loser. So you can emphasize it by adding that word. This phrase isn't used as much anymore, but I really like it. Treehugger is used to refer to someone who loves the outdoors and loves the environment. You can understand where it comes from. It's someone who doesn't really do it, but likes to hug trees. You know, you can give a person a hug. You can also give a tree a hug. So a tree hugger is someone who loves the environment and cares for the environment, an environmentalist. A pack rat is someone who never throws anything away. If you look at this picture, you can see there's a lot of stuff in this garage. This person should go and bring some of this to the recycling center, should drop it off at a thrift store, and should bring some to the dump. A pack rat is someone who, well, if you look over here, I'm a bit of a pack rat. You can't see all of it, but I do have quite a bit of stuff down there. But yes, a pack rat buys things and then never actually gets rid of anything. They just keep it forever. And then eventually their house is really full. A bigwig. I believe this is the head of FIFA. I'm not sure, but he's a bigwig. A bigwig is someone who is in charge of something. Someone who is a director, a boss, someone who has the authority to make decisions. So maybe in the chat, someone can type this person's name. This person is a bigwig. They are a very important person in the world of European football, in the world of soccer. He is a bigwig, an important person. But it's not like for everyone. Like you wouldn't call an actor a bigwig, like a celebrity. A bigwig really needs to be in charge of a large organization. The head of the Olympics is a bigwig. The head of FIFA is a bigwig. The commissioner of the National Hockey League is a bigwig. Chatterbox. A chatterbox is someone who talks a lot. We usually use it when describing children. We don't often say an adult is a chatterbox, but you can. Definitely a chatterbox. A chatterbox is someone who talks a lot. I'm a bit of a chatterbox when I do my live streams. I tend to talk a lot because that's the whole reason you are all here, to hear me talk and describe things. So a chatterbox, someone who talks a lot. Copycat is someone who does not do their own work. A copycat is someone who looks at someone else's work and then does the same thing. This happens on YouTube sometimes. Sometimes I make an English lesson and then a few months later, I'll see another English teacher do almost exactly the same lesson. They're a little bit of a copycat. I'm not going to name names because sometimes I do a lesson and then I realize that someone else did a very similar lesson a year ago. I'm not a copycat though. I think I just happened to have the same idea, and maybe other people do as well, but I don't want to get too far into it. By the way, little secret for all 258 people watching, I was invited to be in a video with other YouTube English teachers. We all shot a little 1-minute clip and sent it to one YouTube English teacher. And she is going to put them all together and release it at the end of the month. I'm not going to say who, but I was very honored to be invited to be part of that. So it was very cool. A coward. A coward is someone who is very afraid. This is also an insult. You would not tell someone they are a coward, but maybe you're reading a story and there's a knight who bravely fights against the dragon, but then his friend who's also a knight is a coward and hides in the town. So a coward is someone who is very afraid. A coward is someone who definitely wouldn't fight the dragon if it was a story about dragons. A coward is, we might call them a scaredy cat as well. We use cat a lot, a scaredy cat. A foodie is someone who loves food. In particular, they like buying food at restaurants. They might also like making food. But generally, when I think of foodie, I think of people I know who love going to really cool restaurants and then talking about the food that they ate there. Oh, there's a new Indian restaurant in this town, or there's a new Chinese restaurant in this town, or there's a really cool new burger place in this city. So they go there, they eat the food, and then they talk about the food. They love food and they love talking about food. This is a great one. This is a common term to describe someone who at work or in business just is a really hard-working person. So a real go-getter. I always think of someone who bakes and sells bread. I would describe this person as a go-getter because you need to get up at like 3 a.m. to start making bread. You have to be a real go-getter. So a go-getter has energy. They work fast. They do high-quality work. They are energetic when they're working. They are awesome. I love people who are real go-getters, especially students. Sometimes you'll have a student who's a real go-getter, always done their work on time, asks good questions, learns on their own. Many of you learn on your own. Very cool, very cool. And then mover and shaker. A mover and a shaker is very similar, but usually refers to someone who gets a lot of promotions very quickly. So this person, I think, I'm going to imagine, started out washing dishes, but they were a real mover and a shaker. Eventually they were a server, and then they were running the restaurant. They were the restaurant manager. Then they bought their own restaurant, and now they own 5 restaurants. You would call that person, especially someone who looks so young, a real mover and a shaker, someone who gets a lot of promotions or works their way up very quickly. A racist. Is this my last slide? No, it should have been. A racist is someone who doesn't like someone else because of the color of their skin. I like this picture. Fight racism. To me, there are just people in the world. There are not different I don't know how to say this. Like, everyone is their own person. And I think what's cool about the internet is that I can simply teach all of you, and we don't have to worry about where we're from or what we look like. So racism is when you think you think someone is a certain way because you think everyone who looks like them is that way. And it's just a stereotype and not true. So racism is awful. We should fight racism and end it. I'm glad that I do not see racist comments in my chat or in my comments. That's awesome. This community is not racist at all. And I really, really appreciate that. It is awesome. It's a good community. Brat. It's my last slide. Brat is a kid who doesn't behave. A brat is a kid who doesn't listen to their parents. They run around yelling. They throw things. When they go to school, the teacher doesn't know what to do with them and is constantly having them sit in a chair on the side of the classroom, giving them timeouts, we call it. So a brat is a child who misbehaves a lot. I was going to say there are some brats in the chat, but there aren't. But a brat is a child who, doesn't listen to teachers, doesn't listen to their parents very well, and is constantly misbehaving. I was not a brat as a child, by the way. I think I was a pretty good kid. I was more of an introvert than a brat, for sure. Hey, that's the end. I'm going to answer a few questions, but I know I have to get going as well. I'm just really happy that my voice, I've gone through the first week and a half of school. My voice got a little gravelly. Now it's 100% again. But hey, let me check if there's questions and let me get them answered, and then I will get out the door. Unsel says, hi, Teacher Bob, no questions. Thank you for always being so kind and tolerant to all of us. It's so precious to spend time with you. You are awesome. Bye. Thanks, Unsel. I appreciate that very much. From Orsi. Procrastinator is someone who does everything late, but still on time. Is there a term in English for someone who does everything too late, out of time? No, I don't know, but that does happen sometimes. You're right. A procrastinator does everything late, but usually still gets it done. But it might not be the best quality. Someone who's always late, we would just say they're never on time. Yeah, that's what I would say. They never have anything done on time. Anti-demure. Can you define demure? It's very mindful of you to ask that question. For some reason, this word was everywhere starting a few weeks ago. Yes, so demure, so mindful. So demure means like beautiful in a calm way. Let's look it up. We don't use it very often unless we're describing clothes. Like, it's very demure, right? So it's modest, reserved, modest, and maybe shy when you're describing a person. But yes, it's definitely everywhere. Until recently, not a common word at all. Just showed up. Yeah, I would agree. Just a few weeks ago, started showing up on TikTok and Reels and all those kinds of things. So anyways, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you're having a good day. Have a great weekend. This video will come out in a shorter version in a couple days. So look for that, and do watch it to kind of reinforce what you have learned. And if you didn't see Tuesday's video and you're looking to be hungry, go watch it. I ate a lot of snacks in that video. I didn't eat them completely. My kids ate 90% of them, but yeah, it was a fun video to make. I see people guessing in the chat who the collaboration is with. Not going to say. You'll have to wait till the end of September, maybe the beginning of October, and you will find out. You can bug Brent, because I think Brent's in the same video. We'll see. Anyways, sorry, I'm not going to say bye except to everyone, and then I'm going to hit the stop button. So bye, everyone. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. I'm going to rush off to work. I don't always have to rush off to work, but today I do. So anyways,